So I had an interesting question in one of the comments that asked about the definition of felonies, which is basically any crime that is punishable by more than 1 year imprisonment. And the question was, do they do a sentence of 12 months or 1 year and 1 day just so that they can have it be a felony, but yet it's a low level punishment? But that's not exactly how it works. So by statute, there's a maximum imprisonment for each type of crime. And with the felonies in Michigan, we have sentencing guidelines, which is like the subject of a whole other thing. But say that your guidelines call for somewhere between 12 and 20 months on the minimum. If the judge sentences you to 12 months, that means that it could be 12 months in local jail, like St. Joseph County Jail, or it could be 12 months in the Department of Corrections, the MDOC, or prison. The difference is, in local jail in Michigan, you get credit for time served if you have good time. So I guess I'm going to restate that. You get credit for good time. Time served would be the amount of days that you've been in custody when you go to your sentencing. So if you hear the judge say, okay, I'm giving you 90 days with credit for 10 days served, and then you'll serve the remainder. All right, well, that means that that person served 10 days of jail at some point, whether it was when they first got arrested or they went in for a bond violation or something like that. With felonies, if you are sentenced to local jail time, anything 12 months or under at local jail, you're going to get good time credit. And I think I did this in another video, but basically it's like 1 day for every 7 days. And if you are a trustee, like an inmate worker, you can get more days credit. However, in the Department of Corrections, they don't have any good time credit that you get. If you get 12 months in the Department of Corrections, you're going to go to the Department of Corrections for 12 full months. And when you go to the Department of Corrections for prison, you first go to a quarantine type thing for 30 days, and then you get transferred to whatever facility that they place you at, depending on the severity of your crime, your behavior, things like that. If you get placed, say, in a prison that's fairly close, well, then your family can come visit you. You can have, some of that, the luxuries, I guess, of prison. You can get a TV or a radio or what have you. But in Michigan, we don't have a ton of prisons. So in our county, probably the closest prison would be in Coldwater, which is, I think it's just for women, or Jackson. But those are, like, Coldwater's about 30 minutes from Centerville, where the courthouse is, and Jackson is probably about an hour. So in the other prisons that they use up by Grand Rapids, Ionia, there's some in the UP, last I knew. So if you're placed at one of those, it makes it very difficult for your family to be able to come visit you. And again, you don't get credit for any good time, so you're literally serving a straight sentence. Now that's different in different states. So for example, in Indiana, from what I understand from people that cross the border and do something here and get convicted here, in Indiana, most of the time you apparently get sentenced to, say, 2 years in prison, but you only serve half of whatever the judge sentences you to. So in Michigan, it's not that way. What the judge sentences you to is what you're going to serve. And if you get sentenced to prison, so the Michigan Department of Corrections, it means that after you serve that 12 months or that 18 months or the 20 months, whatever it might be, you then are eligible for parole. Now, that means that you have to go in front of a parole board and you have to show that you're not a risk to reoffend, that you're a low level of, very loud out there. So if the parole board approves you for parole, then you get paroled out. You have a local parole agent. We have parole and probation agents in St. Joseph County, in Centerville, and in Three Rivers. But you still then are kind of watched to make sure that there's no drug or alcohol problems and that you're not committing any new crimes, you're not hanging out with other felons, that sort of thing. And once you're off parole, then you're done. But there is a maximum amount of time that if you get a Michigan Department of Corrections sentence, if you get denied parole, say that you're eligible for parole after 18 months, you apply and the Department of Corrections denies you. They call it flopping you. It's a fun term. Say they flop you for 6 months or 1 year. After that 6 months or 1 year, you can reapply again, and they could keep flopping you all the way through the maximum amount of time that the crime that you were convicted of holds. So say that you were sentenced to 18 months Department of Corrections to 5 years, if it's a 5-year max felony. After that 18 months, if you don't parole out, they can keep flopping you until 5 years has passed. And after the 5 years has passed, they have to let you out, and there's no parole, you're just out. So if you get in trouble, if you get in fights, if you have those sorts of things, caught with contraband, those all negatively affect whether or not you're going to get paroled. If it's a criminal sexual conduct type of case, they're looking at, have you sought treatment? Have you dealt with the issues that you had so that you're not likely to reoffend? And so if you don't deal with those things, you may not get paroled. And not every felony is eligible for parole. Murder in the first degree is life without the chance of parole. So that one, if you are found guilty or you enter a plea, that's it. You will go to the Department of Corrections and you will remain there until you decease. So not a fun thing to think about, but definitely something that I think people need to know about. So if you have more questions about parole, probation, felony probation, misdemeanor probation, that sort of thing, drop some comments and I will see if I can answer them for you. Thanks.